He's figuring it out. All right. I think we are on. You guys, it is 7:42 p.m. I got my glass of red wine here because I never make videos at night. Ever. But Tom is at a hockey game for the next hour. And I wasn't ready to, end the night. And there's also been something that's been, I don't know, holding me back from being creative because it's taking a lot of processing power in my brain. And I feel like, well, maybe if I talk about it and kind of share my thoughts, even though they might not make sense, then it'll prime the pump, and then I can go and make all the other ideas that have been just sitting there waiting for me to get to them. This is, I think, going to be hard for me to talk about. I don't even really know where I'm going. I have some notes. This trusty iPad here. I got some notes. Also, I'm very confused as to where to look because I'm using the prompter. I'm still not used to it. And then also, if you haven't noticed, I finally decided to change something in my studio, and Tom helped me, obviously. He changed the lens on this camera, so now it's a wider shot. You probably can't tell. Well, here, this is what it looks like without me cropping an eCam. So you can see my entire room. You've got the window, you've got the door. I think you could see Ben even. Well, that's like Benny's butt over there. Anyway, we're gonna crop back in because you probably don't need to see that much of it. How are we doing here? How's that? Is that good? Oh, wow. That is not at all what I thought it was going to taste like. So last year was probably the hardest year for me mentally. Like, it was just such a tough year. And it's funny because nothing bad really happened, but I had like a mental breakdown like I've never had before, like not even close, which I'm thankful for because it allowed me to kind of rebuild everything piece by piece as a 38-year-old, right? And I don't think I would have been able to, well, I know I wouldn't be where I'm at if I hadn't broken the system in terms of pattern thinking, in terms of this is always how it's been done, or, I've never had to challenge the way that I think about myself and the world and my relationships and my priorities in that way before. And so one of the things that I learned about going through all of this are boundaries. And when I heard the word boundary before, I always thought about it as like, if you want to interact with a person, then you can set boundaries and they can set boundaries. And if you guys, agree to the boundaries, then you can have like a good relationship, right? I think the more I thought about the word boundary, I thought it was like, I thought it was just more declarative, like I won't talk to you if you use rude language, right? Like that's super basic, but the boundary is like, I'm going to tolerate this level of respect. And if you're not going to meet that, then that's fine, but we're not going to talk to each other. That's the boundary that you declare. And like that person knows what it is and they can either respect your boundary or not. What I have come to learn, especially in the past year, about boundaries, and I think it's a harder thing, actually, is that they're not declarative. I think that's what I'm struggling with. I think that's like what I'm in the midst of processing is I think when it comes to boundaries as an adult is that no one has to know that you're making them. And it's weird because when it comes to relationships, for example, my instinct or I don't know, the thing that I know to do is I would say, hey, here's my boundary person that I'm setting a boundary against. Do you understand this, or do you agree, or whatever? But now it's more like I set the boundary in my head. And if the boundary is met, then I am okay with it. And if it's not, then I remove myself. I think my instinct before would be to explain why that boundary exists, right? Yeah, that's what it is, right? I think, especially like as someone who explains a lot, right? Like I have my entire, 30s is online, and I talk a lot about my thought process and how I come to conclusions, and I like sharing how I think. I like sharing that. I think it's interesting. I think it's worth talking about, and I think it, could lend perspective. But I think the difference, especially when it comes to boundaries, is like, if I explain something, then it's almost like we're not even at a level where we see this certain thing equally. So by explaining my boundary, it's almost like it kind of leads to the question of like, why is that a boundary in the first place? And I don't even want to open that question up. I don't know if this is making sense, but as I'm processing this, I feel grief, because it almost feels like I'm giving up on somebody by not explaining my thought process and by not, explaining my side or allowing that person to even understand where I'm coming from, or that I feel this way or anything. But I think, one of the things that Tom and I have really learned this past year is that it is not our job to teach someone something, to explain something to someone. We can if you want to ask, but if I do that for every person, then I will go back to I need permission mode, right? And obviously that's not where I want to be. And I feel like that, I don't know if I'm making sense, but I feel like that's the difference as a 38-year-old is like, I don't have to explain myself anymore. And it's not like I don't know, it sounds selfish as I'm talking it out loud, but like, I don't know. I think this is coming to light because I am an adult, like I have been a wife for a couple years now. I've lived here in this community for a couple years now. Like, Tom and I have been a unit for a couple years now, and this is the person that I am now, and I'm realizing it's starting to stack up against a younger Heather who thought about things differently, right? And this is the thing that I'm kind of, this is literally keeping me up at night. I think before, even with this vlog, it's like every decision I made, I always explained why. I don't really know why. I don't think it's a bad thing, but the way that I see it now, especially as I meet new friends as an adult, right? Like that's really hard to do. College, everyone is willing to meet everyone. It's very easy to meet people. But as an adult, it's hard, right? And so anyway, when it does happen, when I do meet new people, it's fascinating because everyone is an adult, right? Like everyone is in the same life stage of knowing themselves and having a lot of life experience, and like that is the person I'm meeting now. I'm not meeting someone who's figuring it out. I'm not meeting, we're all figuring it out, but at 38 and beyond, it's different from 28, right? What I'm learning is that there are people who, I don't know, understand me, jive with me, vibe with me. And then there are people who need a little bit more explanation. I feel like weird talking about this because I don't, my core fear is being misunderstood. But I think that's what it comes down to is like, I think there are people who are always going to question why I do things the way that I do. And then there are people who aren't, right? Like when they question me, it's always out of curiosity. It's not about like trying to understand. It's more of like trying to learn, maybe. And I feel like this differentiation is just getting more and more clear to me, right? So here's like a content creator example, right? I can post a video and then someone can be like, you know, why do you have purple hair? You shouldn't do that because it's not professional or whatever. Well, I can sit here and explain to you like the thought process. But chances are you're not going to understand, right? Because you're not coming at it from the perspective of like, why purple? Why not pink? Why not blue? Why not lavender? Why not lilac? You're coming at it from like, why are you the type of person who would choose to have purple hair? Because that's a representation of someone who might be irresponsible or impulsive or I don't know, whatever, right? Versus someone else who would ask like, you know, how long have you had purple hair? Or I get this a lot with vegetarian, right? Because being vegetarian is something I have thought very deeply about. I've been vegetarian for 3 years now. And I don't like talking about it because I don't want my choice to like make anyone feel anything about their choice, right? So like that's why I don't like talking about it. And you know, I have to explain when I meet people that I am vegetarian because when people meet, they go out to eat, right? And I'm not putting anyone on blast, okay? Like I'm just working through thoughts. So if you have asked me this, please, like I'm not taking offense, but people are curious because most people aren't vegetarian, right? But I've noticed a difference where when I say I'm vegetarian, some people will say, oh my gosh, have you tried that one vegan restaurant in Palm Springs? It's like super cool. Or like, you know, oh my gosh, I just saw this tofu recipe that blah, blah, blah. You know, or how long have you been vegetarian? You know, and then there's the other side that's like, why are you vegetarian? And I can understand someone asking because it's like they cannot fathom going vegetarian, which believe it or not, I couldn't either. I'm Filipino. I ate meat 3 times a day for most of my life. But I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's almost seen as a threat to your own choice, which like, no, because both things can exist at the same time, right? Like I could be vegetarian, you could be a meat eater. I feel like there is a inherent respect and acceptance that comes with one of these and more of like a confusion with the other. Does that make sense? Like you can ask me why I want vegetarian, sure, but it's really hard for me to tell you why in 5 minutes. Like it's, you know, it's not an easy answer. And this is just one thing. It's just the most obvious example I can think of. But I think that about even the content that I'm creating, right? Like, I feel like there are people who are going to get it. They might be curious. They might have questions. They might not understand. But there is an acceptance of like, I dig Heather's vibe, so I'm on board. Like I will ask questions about like, why are you doing this? Or, you know, what is your goal? What are you trying to accomplish? But it's not from a place of like, why are you doing this? Do you see what I mean? And I think that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like, I guess like the thing about the boundary thing is, instead of like setting a boundary and explaining to this other side why that boundary is there, I've just set the boundary and just gone and hung out with the people over here. You know, where I don't feel like I have to explain myself. You know, I don't feel, I don't know, I can't explain it, but I can feel it when it's happening. I can feel when I'm talking to people, and weirdly, it's also helped me figure out why I want to create, why I want to continue creating, and what I want to continue creating, and the kind of impact I want to make, and, you know, the people that I'm making it for. It's just, you know, if I could tell myself back in 2016 when I started this, we all hear this all the time. Okay, there are, you know, trolls or whatever, stupid people on the internet who are going to question every single thing that you do, especially with something like vlog content or content where you're talking about your lifestyle choices, because, you know, putting your life out there lends itself to criticism and questions and whatever. But I always go back to the fact that I met Tom, you know, on the internet, like through YouTube. So yes, I'm probably, you know, not going to meet another husband, but I do believe that you can make genuine friendships and connections and relationships. And those are the people that I want to focus on. You know, like, it's the people who kind of just get it. You know, when you meet, I mean, I would hope that you have also had this experience where you've met someone and you just clicked. And you might have like all these things not in common. Like Tom's a perfect example. We have so much not in common. We have a lot in common, but there's also a lot that we do not have in common. We do things very differently. So it's not about compatibility in that way. You know, like I'm not saying that I want to meet people who see everything exactly the same way I do. And so it's not a type of person, you know, it's not like I'm only being friends with vegetarians or whatever, but it's more of like, I can just feel it now. And like, and the reason why I'm feeling a sense of grief is because I feel like I'm giving up on people. You know, I feel like a younger, a younger me who was eager to please would have put in the effort to write a letter, to, you know, type out a whole long text, to, I don't know, make the phone call or whatever. But I guess what I'm recognizing is just, I don't know, maybe that's a difference in values, in life perspective, world perspective. And it's not like I have any dislike towards people who might not see things or might not accept me for who I am is what it is. Yeah, I think that's what it is. So, you know, you might look at me and be like, gosh, wish she plays a lot of video games. Like, why do you play a lot of video games? Well, I can't explain to you why I play a lot of video games. It's something I've been doing since I was a kid. It's a huge part of my life. And you know what I mean? Like, you can either accept that and respect that is a part of me, or you can question it. And now I just feel bad, you know? And like, obviously I'm not going to convince you to play video games. Otherwise you'd be doing it already. You know, and see, like, that is where that's like a better example, where I think in a past life I would have explained why. Here's my video essay on why video games are awesome, and like how much of an impact they've had on me, and like, here are all my favorite video games, and here's what's cool about them, and here's explanation so I can validate my life choices and blah blah. And again, I think it just comes down to like, you know what? It's not my job to try to explain. like, and why, right? Because even if I did explain, even if I did put in the effort, you're probably not even going to get it. Like, you're just not going to get it, right? Whereas someone can ask me, like, you're playing video games? Cool. What are you playing? All right, you play video games. I read books, or I work out, or whatever. And that's it. You move on. Like, and I don't know. It's just, it's an exciting thing. Like, I feel empowered because I feel like I'm actually listening to my gut feelings. I can, I understand what these feelings are. I physically feel them. I physically feel the anxiety. And I'm finally getting a rein on, like, oh, this is what this means. But it's the grief that, like, I don't know, I just feel sad. I feel it's a different kind of, I'm just not used to doing it. It's just, I don't know, it's strange. It's a strange feeling. It's a strange feeling. That's why we're going to take a sip here. There's a lot of things that I want to do. There's a lot of things I discovered about myself that I didn't have, that I didn't realize until it all broke. And then I kind of picked everything back up, and it's almost like a stained glass window maybe, and just like putting the pieces back together differently. It's like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's cool. I want to roll with this for a little bit, and the core of this me, the one who is setting boundaries, and the one that's listening to her gut, and the one that's really trying to focus on what I want to do with this chance that I have with this life. The foundation of it is that I have a gift, and I want to share that gift with as many people as I can who would find it valuable. Saying I have a gift kind of sounds presumptuous, so I can also say it as like, I am this ball of light, right? And for certain people, when we connect, I make their light grow brighter, and they make my light grow brighter. And like, isn't that a cool, a special thing to focus on, to invest in, right? Whereas like I can shine my light over here and like nothing happens, and I can try to like put in all this effort to make this one light glow, or I can go over here and you can go and find other lights to help you glow, right? Like another light will help you glow. It's just probably not me right now. And I don't know, it's just, I feel sad for that. I don't know, it kind of feels like giving up, but I don't want to see it that way though, right? I think that's what's empowering about a boundary is like, it's I don't know, a letting go, so I can go do this thing over here and you can go do that thing over there, and that's fine. Like, that's better, right? Just still dealing with it. Anyway, thanks for listening to my evening thoughts. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.